The Paper Mario games are widely regarded as some of the best RPGs ever made. But what if you were scared of Italian men and talking turtles? Well, in that case I have the perfect game for you. Welcome to Bug Fables, the Everlasting Sapling, and let's get right into the game. Before our adventure begins, we learn a bit about the lore of this world. This is Bugaria, a peaceful and prosperous land where many adventurous bugs gather. This is thanks to the Ant Queen, her daughters and the servants who established the first settlement here. The Ant Kingdom flourished under the Ant Queen's leadership, but she was still unhappy, as she had an unfulfilled dream. Because she had heard of a plant that would grant unending youth and strength to whoever ate from it. The name of said plant, the Everlasting Sapling. But she never found it. Before falling into her hard-earned sleep, she entrusted her dream to the princess, the new Ant Queen. Determined to succeed where her mother failed, she founded the Explorers Association. Here bugs, no matter their shapes and kind, gathered to search for clues on the sapling. But it still hasn't been found to this day. With the introduction out of the way, we see two bugs talking. The green beetle on the left is Kabu and the mantis on the right is Maki. From their conversation you learn that Kabu is an adventurer and that he has come from a place in the north. Apparently he has come here to join the Explorers Association and he has already asked to join Maki's team. But Maki has declined, as Kabu has not proven himself yet. Before Kabu has a chance to persuade Maki, they are interrupted by these two in the back. So we go over there to investigate what's going on. We learn that the bee, who's called Vi, is from a place called the Hive, and that she wants to become an explorer. From the other's reaction, we learn that it seems to be uncommon for bees to become explorers. We also learn that explorer teams consist of two bugs, and since she doesn't have a partner, she isn't allowed to become an explorer. This prompts Kabu to have an idea. He asks Vi to team up, as he himself also lacks a partner, to which she reluctantly agrees. Maki decides to test him in a fight, to see if they have any chance of survival, as he is a Queen's royal blade. Now it's time for our first fight, which also acts as a tutorial. We learn how to attack, how to use special attacks, and how to defend ourselves from enemy attacks. After a few turns the fight is over, and Maki permits us to become explorers. We get our explorer's permit from Ethel, the blue beetle, and Maki gets picked up by his sister Kina as they go on their own adventure. Now that we are part of the Explorers Association, we get our first assignment. We have to explore Snakemouth's den and find an ancient artifact. We are told that this mission is really dangerous and no one who has ever entered the cave has returned. And just like that, the first chapter of our story begins. A dysfunctional trio. Before we embark on our quest, we have a quick chat with the bugs in the Explorers Association. There are these two ants, Jen and Eri, who are gushing over Maki, and this wasp, whose name is Zasp, who congratulates us on joining the association. Lastly, there's also this mantis, who gives us a medal. In this world, the only equipment is in the form of medals. In this case, he gave us a medal that makes the game harder, but we get more EXP from enemies. Also, when we defeat stronger enemies, we get special medals from him. As we exit the association, we see this ladybug, whose name is Levi, with his partner Celia, as he hits this crystal. He informs us that this is a save crystal, which as the name implies, saves our game. For now, there's only one way we can go, to the west towards Snakemouth's den, as all the other paths are blocked by boulders. After we show our permit to the guard ant, he lets us pass, and we are on our way to Snakemouth's den. On the way we fight some sentient seeds, mow some grass for this old bug, and finally reach our destination. By the entrance we find this crystal berry lying around. This is a special currency we will be able to spend later on. After defeating this terrifying monster, we arrive at this river, with the bridge hanging above it. Wait a moment, did all the other explorers that came here die to this monster we just fought? Because how would anyone else have gotten past here? Luckily, Vi can throw her boomerang at the rope holding the bridge, which makes the bridge drop and we are able to continue. Further in, we are stopped by this giant locked door. Well, guess there's nothing we can do, let's just head back. Just kidding, there are two stones that we can push around with Kabu, and two pressure plates that light up when stones are placed on them. And after pushing the second stone on the plate, the cave starts to shake and a healing mushroom falls down. Also, the stones we just placed seem to have disappeared. They must have been one-time use stones, I guess. As we pick up the mushroom, the cave shakes again, and the floor beneath us disappears, plunging us into the depths. Vi, being a bee and able to fly, contemplates running away, but ultimately decides against it, as she's Kabu's reliable teammate. Also, the giant door opens. Luckily, Kabu landed on this giant mushroom that broke his fall. But since there's no way back up, we have to continue our search down here. As we make our way further in, we come across this giant spider web with a moth hanging in it. At first, Vi and Kabu assume that the moth is dead, but it turns out to just be sleeping. Just as Vi is about to cut the web down, they are ambushed by its owner, a giant spider. While Kabu wants to fight the spider to save the moth, Vi wants to run away, which she does, leaving Kabu behind to fend for himself. But there really is nothing Kabu can do. His attacks don't deal any damage, and now he can't even reach it. Eventually Kabu gets overrun by the spider and trapped in a cocoon. Luckily, Vi returns, frees Kabu, and it's time for round 2. This time we focus on attacking the web with the moth in it, and after a few turns it breaks. Kabu picks up the moth and we escape to another room, which is just small enough so the spider can't enter. Vi apologizes for leaving Kabu behind and the moth wakes up. At first it speaks in some weird language, but fortunately it speaks Bugnish, the language all bugs speak. We tell the moth about what happened and he introduces himself as Life. As it turns out, he was on a scouting mission here before he got captured. They decide that it would be best to continue on together, but Life can't fight. After fighting some more monsters, we level up. Now we can choose between more HP, more flower points, which we need for skills, or medal points, which we need to equip more medals. At the end of this room, our team decides to take a short break, when Life is ambushed by this mushroom monster. Just as it is about to attack him, he uses ice magic to freeze it. Apparently this is new even to him, but at least he can now fight with us. We make our way deeper into the cave, solve some puzzles which open this giant door, and finally find this weird looking thing on a pedestal. Life reacts to its magic powers and confirms that this is the artifact we are looking for. I don't know, looks kinda sus to me. After Vi picks it up, the water around us starts to rise. And as we try to leave, the spider returns and it is time to settle this once and for all. Wait a moment, why couldn't we just have talked it out like normal bugs? Like, hey, you mind if we take this artifact with us? There will be a reward and you'll even get part of it. Yeah, sounds good. Well, now that we've gotten stronger, we stand a chance against the spider. We can even freeze it with Life's skills. And finally we defeat the spider. However, the water has continued to rise during the fight and we get swept away. The game recounts our journey so far and we awaken back outside. After making sure everybody's okay, we pick back up the artifact and make our way up the hill. Luckily, we're right next to town. In town, Jen, Ari and Ethel are already waiting for us. We tell them about how we saved Life and actually found the artifact. During the conversation, Life notices that everything looks very different from when he was here last time. Like that he doesn't even remember the Explorers Association. As a reward for finding an artifact, Ethel grants our team, which she dubs Team Snakemouth, the perk to have 3 party members. Now we have to go to the Queen to deliver the artifact. Luckily the boulders have been removed, so now we can enter the Ant Kingdom. We make our way past the statue and meet Marky again, right in front of the Ant Hill Palace, the Ant Queen's castle. He tells us that he already knows of our accomplishment and has already arranged an audience with the Queen. In the palace we head straight for the throne room, where we meet the Ant Queen. Vi hands over the artifact and in return we get a crystal berry, which is useless at the moment, and some berries. The Queen praises us, and when Life wants to ask a question, he's interrupted. But we get our next assignment, an expedition to the Golden Hills for another artifact. And just like that, we are already in chapter 2, Sacred Golden Hills. As we leave the throne room, Life tells us that when he set out on his expedition, the first Queen was still in charge. Kabu invites Life to come explore with him and Vi, in hopes of discovering something about his past. Before we set off for our next expedition, we explore the Ant Kingdom. First we have this bank, where we can store our berries and get interest every 30 minutes. This effectively eliminates the need to farm money, if you can leave the game running in the background. Also, there are some quests we can do to help the people in need. We grab a bite to eat from this overly buffed fly, and it's time to set off for the Golden Hills. To get to the Golden Hills, we first need to go through the Golden Path tunnel. This will lead us to the Golden Path, which leads to the Golden Settlement, which is at the foot of the Golden Hills. The Golden Path tunnel is the cave we woke up in front of after being swept out of Snakemouth Den. However, as we approach the cave, we see these 2 wasps attacking a moth. The moth is Professor Neolith, the Ant Queen's researcher, who is looking into the artifacts. To protect the professor, Kabu taunts the wasp into attacking us. Luckily, Levi and Celia arrive to help us. With the wasps defeated, they run away, and we learn that the wasps are also searching for the artifacts. We also learn that Levi, Celia and Professor Neolith are also on their way to the Golden Settlement, and apparently there will be some kind of festival there. We make our way through the Golden Path tunnel, break the laws of physics as we traverse the Golden Path, and finally arrive at the outskirts of the Golden Settlement. As we enter the settlement, we see Levi and Celia talking to this mantis. But before we go talk to them, let's look around a bit. In this inn we see this moth, who is called Mothiva, giving a concert. We also meet Professor Neolith again, who we can have a quick chat with. Now we finally go talk to Levi, Celia and the mantis. The mantis' name is Aria, and she's an acolyte of the goddess Venus. To get the artifact we need to get to the Golden Hills, which are past the statue, but the way will only open once the festivities have concluded. By talking to Arya, we wait for nighttime, because that's when the festivities begin. To progress, we have to bring 2 offerings to Arya, because that's when the final ceremony will begin. The moon offering we get by winning an eating competition, and the sun offering we get by playing whack-a-mole with these worms. After the second minigame, we get stopped by these 2. The older one with the bad posture is Professor Honeycomb, the creator of the boomerang Vi uses, and the other bee is Hawk, her assistant. Apparently the boomerang Vi uses was stolen from the professor, and then sold to Vi. Fortunately, she doesn't want the boomerang back, instead she upgrades it. So now we can throw the boomerang and hold it in place. That's not how physics work, but okay I guess. Now that we have both offerings, we return to Arya and start the final ceremony. We now choose who participates together with Kabu. I chose Life. And guess what? The final ceremony is a battle against Arya. Thanks to Life being able to freeze her with his skills, the fight is quite easy. With the battle won, the time instantly skips to morning and the way to the Golden Hills opens. As we enter the hills, we get stopped by this talking plant that can count. It confirms that we are on the right track, we just have to get to the top of the hill. And to do that, we have to find some cranks, crank some cranks, until we get the big crank. Just as we insert the big crank, we get interrupted by Zasp and Moviva, who have also formed our explorer team. Moviva wants us to let her get the artifact so she can be even more famous. But don't worry, she promises to pay us in exposure. Since Life hopes to get information about himself on the summit and Vi wants the reward, it's time for a fight. This fight could have potentially been difficult if Life hadn't learned the frigid coffin skill. It's super cheap and the chance to freeze the enemy is massive. With Zasp and Moviva beaten, we take the elevator to the top. As we reach the summit, Life begins to speak in that weird language again, confirming that the artifact is close by. Now we just place the offerings in their designated places, which opens the door to this garden area. Inside we meet the goddess Venus. Apparently she knows a lot about what goes on in Bugaria, thanks to her buds. The talking flower we met earlier. She knows how we were swept out of Snakemouth's den, that Kabu seems to be keeping a secret from everyone, and maybe even something about Life's past. But she'll only answer our questions and give us the artifact after we complete her special trial, which is a 20-question trivia quiz. Nah, just kidding, it's a fight against this plant monster, but thanks to Life's ice magic it's no match for us. And as she promised, she shares what she knows about Life. She recounts that Life and his party went to Snakemouth Den, that Life was captured by the spider, but the other 2 managed to escape. And after some time, Life's presence vanished. And even now Life doesn't seem to have a presence, whatever that means. We get the artifact from Venus, a tablet with some squiggly lines on it, and head back to the Ant Queen together with Levi and Celia. In the throne room the queen is already waiting for us. We hand over the artifact and get some berries as a reward. As Professor Nearliff inspects the tablet, he notices something. Based on his research, this tablet must contain information about the sapling's whereabouts. And the mongoose looking artifact we got earlier is some kind of interpreter for the text on it. With it, the squiggly lines on the tablet transform into the Roach alphabet. According to Professor Nearliff, the Roaches were pretty technologically advanced, but there aren't any of them around nowadays. It will take some time to translate the tablet into Bugnish, so we will have to wait until we find out what's written on it. However, we get a new mission, where we have to retrieve an artifact, some kind of key, that is located in the Bee Kingdom. Apparently they use the artifact to power the Honey Factory's core. Fortunately, the Ant Queen has already taken care of everything and sent replacement parts for the core. All we have to do now is get the artifact and return it here. Before the Queen dismisses us, she warns us that the Wasps were also looking for the artifacts and warns us to be careful. And just like that, we're in the 3rd chapter already, Factory Inspection. As we leave the throne room, we notice that Vi doesn't seem too happy to go back to the hive, but she doesn't want to talk about it. It's time for our good deed of the day. We take on a side quest where we help Levi and Celia catch a criminal. Well, I say catch. It's rather a beat 'em up, which would have been a lot easier if I had healed myself before coming here. As a reward, we get access to this shady place. Here we can trade crystal berries we have already gotten for some strong medals. Wait a moment, this isn't a medal, it's a call to action to like and subscribe. How did this get here? On our way to the bank, we come across this house with her mother and her child. This causes Life to have a strange reaction, where he recognizes her as his wife. Instead of going up to her and talking to her, he wants to know the truth behind himself before talking to her. Now it's time to make our way to the beehive. To get to the beehive, we have to take the elevator up in the fine route. To get there, we have to make our way through the Lost Sands, a desert. After we lower this bridge to help Jen and Ari, who are also on their way to the beehive, we meet Venus again, who has decided to help us on our journey. She will heal us for free. All she asks for is a donation of 8 berries each time she heals us. By the entrance to the Lost Sands, Cabo gets a new skill. We can now dash to get around faster. While traveling through the Lost Sands, we meet Hawk again. find some ancient metal, and meet these two explorers called Stratos and Delilah. They are known as Team Slacker, because they never finish a mission. But whenever we find them, we can be sure that there's something important around. Anyway, we knock over these spikes, parkour over them and catch up with Jen and Eri, who are accompanying some merchants. How did they get here anyway? Did they put up the spikes? Just then, we get ambushed by these bandits and wasps, but they are no match for us. A little further on, we come across the sign, informing us that the flying route is to the west, and the wasp community to the east. So I went to the right, because following simple instructions is hard. Here we find a giant gate with a bee guarding it, screaming at us to get out of here or we might start a war. There's also this mantis who wants to enter the wasp kingdom, presumably to start a war. This time we take a left at the sign and finally arrive in the find route. The elevator to the beehive is on the left side of town. But before we go there, we explore the town a bit, meet the mayor of the find route, who is an acquaintance of Kabu. We also get this cute little pill bug that lets us rest anywhere. This is only a sample, and he will come back here when we use him. The vendor asks us not to keep him for too long. Yeah, you'll get him back soon, don't worry about it. We make our way to the left side of town and take the elevator up to the beehive. As we ride this endless elevator up, Vi opens up about what happened. She had a fight with her sister, her colleagues and even the queen, because they all doubted her and said she couldn't become an explorer. Apparently she even said some pretty mean stuff to them. And even now, Vi is being stubborn and won't apologize for what she said. As we reach the beehive, we get off the elevator and are scanned for impurities at the entrance. It seems something has been picked up by the scanner from life. We are taken to the lab by this Dr. Bee, whose name is Dr. HB, for an examination. After performing some tests on life, the doctor concludes that there are some ancient crystal fragments inside him, and they are the reason he can use magic. But there also seems to be something else inside of him. To find out what it could be, Dr. HB wants to cut him open. But life's body reacts on its own, creating a bubble shield around him. Back to the main reason we are here. We have to talk to the Bee Queen. Before we do that though, we have to gather the other explorers. Which means we have to talk to Jen, Eri, Mofiva and Sasp. With all the explorers gathered, we return to the entrance of the throne room and enter it. Inside, the Bee Queen is already waiting for us. She tells Vi how proud she is and that Vi has grown up quite a bit. The Queen also informs us that Kina, Maki's sister, already brought all the replacement parts for the core. As a gesture of good faith, the Queen invites us to take part in a tour around the factory while HB builds a new core. So, we make our way over to the factory. While we are having a nice chat with the tour guide and HB, we see that Mofiva and Sap sneak off in the distance. Suddenly, the entire factory begins to shake. An electric voice over the intercom informs us that the factory has been compromised and code 32 has been activated. This causes all the doors to close down. HB informs us that this code means that the factory has been attacked by hostile forces. The only way to get out now is for the Overseer to enter the disarm code. However, nobody knows where she is at the moment. So now instead of having a nice tour around the factory, we have to search and rescue the Overseer. Right now there's only one way we can go, so let's go there. The enemies in this area can be quite dangerous, as they can stun our characters with certain attacks if the attacks aren't blocked. When a character is stunned, they can't attack or defend, which can cause them to be stunned again, which is not great. We make our way deeper into the factory, until we find someone. Sadly, it's not the Overseer, but a bee named Malby, Vi's former supervisor, before she became an explorer. However, before we can talk to her, we have to defeat these slimes. After defeating the slimes, we talk to her, where she admits that Vi has changed and is thankful for the rescue. Fortunately, she knows where the Overseer is. She's locked in a storage room. Because of the emergency, the vents shut down and the honey is heating up, which causes these slime monsters, called Abomni Honey, to appear. Malby fixes this pump, which unlocks the door to the storage. This is our next destination. In the storage we take the lift down, past a locked door, across these boxes, and find a completely empty room. Suddenly, honey starts to drip down and this giant honey monster attacks us. As we beat the monster, it bursts. And guess who was trapped inside it? Zasp and Mofiva. Mofiva just runs off. But Zasp thanks us for saving them, asks us not to talk about it, and gives us the factory pass. With this pass we can enter the door at the entrance of the storage. We make our way past these slimes, over this bridge, past some more slimes, and up some boxes where the Overseer is hiding. Now we have to escort her back to the entrance. Luckily we can use Life's bubble shield to push the enemies away. Now we can finally enter the reactor room and leave all of this behind us. As HB wants to replace the core, her assistant warns us that there's a chance of the reactor blowing up. A 0.004718% chance. Just as HB approaches the core, the alarm goes off, and a giant mecha bee swoops in to defend the core. Fortunately, there's a deactivation code, which doesn't work because of the lockdown. Guess we have to defeat the mecha bee before we get the artifact. With Y knocking the mech down and live freezing it, we managed to beat it. Although it got pretty close by the end. So, HB pops out the artifact, replaces it with this 1-to-1 replica and hands us the artifact, much to Morpheva's dismay. Before we return to the Ant Queen to bring her the artifact, there are some things we can do. Vi wants to talk to her sister, Jawn, hoping to fix their relationship. So, we visit her art studio and it doesn't go too well. Vi tries to apologize, but Jawn doesn't listen to her. Back outside, Life suggests getting her some red paint as a type of apology, since Jawn mentioned that she had none left. This will send us on a wild goose chase around the world, so we will leave that for later. The next thing we unlock is in HB's laboratory. Here we can refight all the bosses and mini-bosses we have fought already. This allows us to get the achievements for beating the enemies on hard mode if we missed any. Additionally, if we beat multiple enemies consecutively in rush mode, we get some useful medals. Well then, let's not keep the Ant Queen waiting any longer. We return to the Ant Queen, hand over the artifact and get a few berries. As Professor Nearliff is inspecting the artifact, he notices that this is only one half of the key. This is bad, because the Wasp Kingdom is apparently preparing to make their move. Just then, Stratos and Delilah come in. They inform us that the second part of the key is in a sand castle, which was previously inhabited by the roaches. The castle is where we met Stratos and Delilah before, but to get in we will need 2 keys. And apparently the mayor of Defiant Root seems to know about the key's location. With that the 4th chapter begins, Mysterious Lost Sands. In Defiant Root we talk to the mayor, who tells us that we need the Heaven and Earth key to enter the sand castle. He doesn't know where the keys are, but suggests we talk to the bugs around Defiant Root. By doing that we learn that there is a shady guy down in the well. For a small fee he gives us a rusty key, tells us that the bandits have part of the key and tells us where their hideout is. So we go over to the bandits hideout, pick up the key, but oh no, it was a trap! And from the way the bandits are talking, it seems like they are working together with the wasps. They take all our items and throw us into the cell. Just when all hope is lost, Cabo gets a new skill. He can dig into soft soil and move around. So now we can at least escape. Since they took all our equipment, even Vice Boomerang, we now have to sneak our way past the bandits. Yeah, just ignore the ice cube that appeared out of nowhere and is moving when you look away. Eventually we make our way into the storage room, where we see some bandits talking to wasps before they leave. Now we open this chest and get all our items back. Next we face the bandits leader to get the key we came here for. Wait a moment, this is the guy from the well. This fight is actually quite challenging. I had a bit of trouble blocking his attacks, which meant I took a lot of damage. But when we try to use any item, he hits it out of our hands, even when he's frozen. Eventually we manage to beat him. That's when his backup arrives. But instead of letting them attack us, he tells them to let us go. Also, we get the first key. The second key we get by talking to Hawk in this deserted roach village. Now that we have the completed key, we go over to where the sandcastle is supposed to be. Or not, because we are ambushed by this giant scorpion. After we defeat it, our team gets reckless and begins chatting, when suddenly the scorpion gets back up and stings Life. He speaks in that weird language again, and tentacles erupt from his chest. Out of nowhere, Sasp appears, attacks the scorpion and saves Life. The screen turns black and we see Life standing alone in the dark. We hear voices talk about something being a failure and throwing said thing out, which makes Life question himself even more. Back with our team, Sasp has patched up Life and we are waiting for him to regain consciousness. When Life wakes back up, he is even more determined to find out more about himself. So we make our way to where the sand castle is supposed to be, insert the key, and a huge castle made out of sand appears. Inside we hit the switch that activates some kind of ice magic that causes this floating platform to appear. This gives Life hope that they might find something about his past here. So we make our way through the castle, dodge some rolling stones, do some platforming and enter the burial chamber. As we walk in, we hear a voice speak in the roach's language, which Life is able to understand. And whoever said that wants us to leave. But then we get attacked by this monster that can also use ice magic. After we defeat it, it drops a gem, which isn't the artifact we're looking for. But a door on the far end of the room opens, which leads us to the artifact. With it in hand, we leave the castle. Outside, a badly hurt Sasp appears, informs us that the wasp attacked the Ant Kingdom and urges us to hurry back there. Back in the Ant Kingdom, we tactically run past the wasps and enter the throne room. Inside we see the Wasp King threatening the Queen, but then we come in, and it is time to defeat him. Is what I would have said if he didn't deal way too much damage, and after a few turns he makes his flame pillar erupt from the floor, dealing a whopping 99 damage, defeating us. He takes the artifact we just got and moves to the Ant Queen to take the other artifacts. But then Maki drops down and saves the day. The Wasp King decides to run away, not wanting to take his chances with Maki. Our next mission is to go to the Wasp Kingdom, which is located in the far grasslands, to get the artifact back. Also Maki and his team, who apparently have a new party member, will be accompanying us. And with that we are already in chapter 5, the far wildlands. But before we do that, it is time for some backtracking. Remember how when we explored Snakemouth then, there was this giant door that opened after we fell down and met life? We can now go there. We insert the gem we just got and this door opens. On the other side, life starts to talk in that weird language again. This is when out of nowhere this bee and beetle that also talk in that weird language approach us. Life tries to talk to them, but they won't listen to him, so we have to beat them up. After defeating them, we have a new problem. There's this long stretch of water and we cannot swim. But Life has a great idea to drop icicles in the water to form platforms on which we can stand. On the other side we find this sign that indicates that this laboratory was used by the roaches for some kind of experiments. We make our way through the laboratory, solve some puzzles the roaches left behind for us, and insert 3 cogwheels to open this locked door. Inside we find several test tubes containing the monsters we've been fighting. At the end of the room we find a really big and empty test tube, but nothing that helps Life remember anything. So we make our way to the exit, when we hear a terrifying scream and this thing approaches us. Life says something about this being his sibling and then completely freezes up. And in the ensuing battle he is still unable to move. Just as the monster is about to unleash this purple laser, Life regains his composure and uses his shield to save us. I gotta say, this fight was pretty tough and I lost a few times, but in the end we managed to beat it, with the power of friendship. With the monster defeated, the projector behind us starts playing recordings from back when the facility was still in use. First we see these 2 scientists say the same thing Life heard when that scorpion impaled him. Wait a moment. Why are they speaking Bugnish if they have their own language? Anyway, next we see this mass of tentacles move over to this moth that is stuck in a spider web. Life explains to us that the original Life passed away back then. These tentacles somehow fused with the dead Life and created the Life we see right here. This helped Life come to terms with who he is. So now we can go back to the house in the Ant Kingdom and talk to the moth family. Anyway, they invite us for dinner, Life gets some closure about himself, and we get a new skill. So, where were we? Alright, we were about to invade the Wasp Kingdom and take back the artifact the king stole from us. So, we make our way to where the gate to the Wasp Kingdom is. Was. Maki, Kina and his caterpillar called Jin, who Kina doesn't like very much, are already waiting for us. On the other side, Kabu, who traveled through here already, warns us how dangerous this place is. Apparently there's a secret side entrance to the Wasp Kingdom we can take, but to get there we have to go through the wild swamplands. Maki is afraid that Kina and Jin may get hurt, that's why he asked him to stay behind and wait for us. Now that Maki has joined our team, we make our way to the swamplands. As we enter, Kabu warns us about the bugs living here, the leaf bug tribe, who will attack us on sight. And after taking a ride on this leaf over the lake, we are attacked by them. Although they are normal enemies, they can be quite dangerous, because when you hit one of them, the others get stronger. One attack took almost half of Vi's HP. Luckily, they don't have too much HP and we managed to defeat them without any casualties. So, we continue our expedition until we arrive at this bridge. Just when we are in the middle of it, these reappear and break the bridge. Our party lands just below the bridge, but Maki lands on a ledge over there, separated from us. While falling he hurt his leg, so now it's time for a rescue mission, which is cut short by this rubble being in our way. But not even these boulders will stand in Kabu's way at this point, as he dashes right through them. It's finally time for Kabu to open up about his past. We already know that he came through this area to get to the Ant Kingdom, but back then he was accompanied by his master and his friend. To ensure that Kabu got out of here alive, his friend and master sacrificed themselves. But no time to waste, we have to rescue Maki and get to the Wasp Kingdom. Huh, that was quick. Maki is still hurt and can't fight, so we will go ahead and clear a path for him. And by clearing a path, I mean defeating the same 3 enemies we have defeated a few times before. Or I guess not. This is the monster that killed Kabu's friend and mentor, and now Kabu wants revenge. Even though Vi and Life would prefer not to face the monster, there's no turning back now. The fight goes quite well, until I get Kabu defeated, but then he miraculously revives. The monster takes Vi and Life, dealing 99 damage. Next the monster takes Kabu, and also deals 99 damage to him, but he refuses to be defeated. Kabu, now with the goal of saving his friend instead of getting revenge, is reinvigorated and manages to defeat the monster. Afterwards, Maki scolds Kabu for being so careless and putting his team and mission at risk. Life and Vi are pretty understanding, even though Kabu just put their lives at risk. As we leave the wild swamplands, we finally arrive at the Wasp Kingdom. However, we have to be sneaky, as attracting too much attention could be dangerous. This is why we have to sneak around just like we did in the bandits' hideout. We sneak past some of the worst guards imaginable. Not this one though. Even though he's sleeping, he will feel our presence. Eventually we get this key, which gets us access to the storage and prison area. Getting thrown in prison wouldn't have been too bad, I guess. In one of the rooms we meet this cleaning wasp, who mistakes us for the Bug Rangers. We learn from her that the other wasp only became so aggressive since the king came to power, and she wants us to stop them. Additionally, she gives us a key with which we can open the storage room with a vent that leads straight into the main hall. As we make our way through the throne room, we are stopped by General Ultimix, the king's right hand man. At least now we know that we're close to the Wasp King. So we beat him and his lackeys and enter the royal chambers. Wait a moment, this isn't the Wasp King. This is Vanessa II, former ruler of the Wasp Kingdom, before the current king came to power. And according to her, he never returned here after the first attack on the Ant Kingdom. This means this is a trap to lure us away from the Ant Palace. Together with Maki and Vanessa, we quickly return to the Ant Kingdom, but nothing seems out of the ordinary. Vanessa and Maki go ahead to the castle while we heal up. As we enter the throne room, we see the Wasp King has already beat guards and Maki. We try to stop him, but we get obliterated by his flame power again. To save everyone, the Ant Queen hands over all the artifacts we gathered to the Wasp King. Now that the Wasp King has all the artifacts he needs, he decides to let us live, and leaves straight through the window. Having all the relics taken from her, the Queen's morale is crushed. Also, she finally explains why she wants the sapling. Apparently the first queen is still alive, but in a deep slumber, and she wants to use the sapling's power to resurrect the first queen. So now it's a race against time. We have to get to the sapling before the Wasp King does. Luckily, Professor Neolith knows exactly where the sapling is. It's located in the Giant's Lair, a towering behemoth of steel and wood. But the only way to enter the Giant's Lair is through the robber prison, a prison for all the bad bugs. The robber prison, however, is located in the middle of the sea, but the only boats the Ant Kingdom had were already sunk by the wasps. Our only hope is to ask the Termite Kingdom for help. They are an isolationist yet advanced society that lives just outside of Bugaria. Back in the day of the first queen, they had an alliance, but because of the second Ant Queen's poor diplomacy skills, they are now in bad terms. This is the only chance we have, so now we escort the Ant Queen to the Termite Kingdom. And just like that, we are already in the 6th chapter, Assault on Rubber Prison. As we leave the throne room, we see Maki and his party, Mofiva and Sasp having a heated discussion. We tell them what happened, and that we are on our way to the Termite Kingdom before we leave. To get to the Termite Kingdom, we must travel through the Forsaken Lands, the entrance to which is in the Golden Path Tunnel. At the beginning of the Forsaken Lands, we meet this bug, who was exiled by the Queen. He gives us a hint on how to traverse these lands and offers his services once the Queen is no longer with us. We have to follow the marked paths, or else we will end up back at the beginning. This goes well until we come to this chasm, where there's no way around. It's finally time for Vi to be useful, because now she has to carry Kabu over the chasm. Lucky for her, Life has learned how to fly with his ice magic. Even though we get a bit lost, we eventually reach the outskirts of the Termite Kingdom, when this monster just pops into existence and attacks us. But nothing our team can't handle. Just after we defeat it, 2 guards from the Termite Kingdom approach us. They were apparently tracking the monster. They take the monster with them and tell us to wait at the gate to the Termite Kingdom for them. As we approach the gate, the guards are already waiting for us. They let us in and escort the Ant Queen to the palace. Inside the palace we have an audience with King Hector IV and Lyra II, the rulers of the Termite Kingdom. The Ant Queen explains to them how dire the situation is, and the threat the Wasp King poses to everyone, including them. To do that, we have to take part in an ancient tradition, which consists of fighting in the Colosseum. The first fight is against some random enemies we've already beaten on the way. The second fight is against the guards we met after defeating the monster outside of the Termite Kingdom. And the third and final battle is against the aforementioned monster again. Or it would have been, if Mofiva didn't want to try to take our spotlight again. They may have gotten stronger since the last time we fought, but nothing we can't handle. We just have to watch out not to attack Mofiva while Sasp is still alive. Now that we've proven just how strong we are told to return to the palace. Back at the palace, the Termite King and Queen recognize our strength and the danger all bugs are in. Fortunately, they have just what we need, a subaquatic maritime neotransport. A submarine we can use to traverse the sea. First we transport the Queen and some termites that want to visit Bugaria back to the mainland. And now it's time to do Vi's quest. You remember? the one with the red paint. This is Dashi. She has the red paint we need, but since it was the last one available, she won't just give or sell it to us. But she is willing to trade it for some cloth from the Defiant Root. In the Defiant Root there's this bee. She has the cloth we need, but as it was the last one available, she won't just give or sell it to us. But she's willing to trade it for a souvenir from the Ant Kingdom. In the Ant Kingdom is this ant. She has a super cool souvenir from the Ant Kingdom. But since it was the last one available, she won't just give or sell it to us. But she is willing to trade it for a toy from the Metal Island. The Metal Island is some kind of luxury resort for rich bugs. And the only way to get there is by boat, and the fee is a whopping 300 berries, so I waited until now so we can get there for free. On the Metal Island we can talk to this merchant, where Vai buys the Eastern Doll. Now we take the Eastern Doll to the ant in the Ant Kingdom and trade it for the Ant Doll. Now we take the Ant Doll to the bee in the Defiant Root and trade it for the Root Cloth. Now we take the Root Cloth to the bee in the Golden Settlement and finally trade it for the red paint. Back in the hive, Vai gives the red paint to John. They apologize to each other and make up. John asks us to leave so she can finish the painting. And when we go back in, it's already done. Wait a moment. What did she need the red paint for in the first place? Now, before we tackle the robber prison, it is time to optimize our build. And by optimize our build, I mean use the search engine of your choice to find some overpowered builds. First, we return to the exiled bug in the Forsaken Lands. He can reset our level up bonuses and change them into other stats. Now I put most of my stats into medal points, some into flower points and just a few into HP. On its own this will do nothing, but now we can equip a lot more medals. Next I decided to use Vi as my main damage dealer from now on. I give her a medal that poisons her when she uses any item and some medals that increase her damage when she's poisoned. Cabo gets a medal that increases life and Vi's damage when he takes damage. Life gets a medal that gives him the skill Empower, which increases the damage of one party member. And the status relay medal, which gives his buff to the party member relay to, plus some other medals that make us stronger. This could in theory be even more optimized with low HP danger medals and some other stuff, but I didn't feel like it. When done correctly, it looks something like this. In the first turn, Cabo taunts the enemy into attacking him. Life empowers Vi, and Vi uses a healing item on herself. The enemy then attacks Cabo, which boosts Vi and life. On the second turn, Vi stands in front, life turn relays to Vi, and Vi uses Hurricane Toss to deal 25 damage in a single attack. Because of turn relay she can attack again, but will only deal 11 damage. Also, as you might have seen, we have another party member, this cute little Chomper. This is Chompy, or in this case Ilpi. We found her seed lying there abandoned, after I slayed her mother. Now that we are thoroughly prepared, we make our way to the robber prison. In here we beat up some wasps and some escaped inmates, and play librarian by inserting books in the correct order. I have to say, I didn't expect this to happen, but at least the door is open now. On the other side we encounter the Wasp King again, who was nice enough to wait for us to catch up. We are just in time to see him break open the way to the Giant's lair. And instead of facing him again, General Ultimax drops in with his new shiny toy. Just look at how strong we are now. Life freezes him and the queen and the others finally catch up to us. Wait, how did they get here? Did they dig this tunnel to get here? Couldn't we just have skipped visiting the Termite Kingdom and used the tunnel from the beginning? It's time to enter the Giant's lair. But before we can do that, Vanessa wants to talk to us again. She explains to us that the source of the king's power is in his crown, and to protect us from his flames, she gives us the flame brooch. This time for real we enter the Giant's lair, and it's time for the final chapter. Chapter 7, the Everlasting Sapling. Just by the entrance we meet Venus again, who informs us that this is as far as she can come with us to help us. She also warns us that the monsters past here are disgusting, heinous creatures, and on top of that, very dangerous. Yeah, I can see what she means. Eventually we arrive in front of this fridge that has been left open, when the queen and the other explorers catch up to us. But before we can start to climb the fridge, we are surrounded by enemies, and I gotta admit, this doesn't look good. This is when I remember that we still have the bad bug with us we got when we first entered the Defiant Root. Yeah, I'm sure he will find his way home safely. With the monsters defeated, we climb the fridge. Although I don't think this is how it's supposed to be. At the top we find a roach village where we are stopped by the guards and the elder. They tell us that they are the guardians of the sapling and that the Wasp King already came through here. They ask the Ant Queen what she plans to do once she gets the sapling. She tells them that originally she wanted to use it to revive her mother, but now she wants to destroy it, letting her mother rest in peace. The roaches are obviously unhappy about that answer, as their life's purpose is to protect it, which is why they won't let us pass now. But after Life has a quick chat with the elder, he changes his mind. They decide to let us pass and destroy the sapling. so they can find a new meaning in life. We leave the village, turn off the stovetop, reach max level, and finally confront the Wasp King just as he clears the barrier to the sapling. Together with Maki, Kina, Morphiva, Sasp, and the Ant Queen, we face the Wasp King. However, we are the only ones that can withstand his fire attacks, thanks to the flame bush from Vanessa. Time for some payback. Without his fire attacks, the Wasp King stands no chance against us. Even though we have beaten him, he still has an ace up his sleeve. He throws a bomb that stuns us at our team. This buys him just enough time to unlock the sapling, but it is wilted. Well, guess it wasn't that everlasting. In a desperate attempt to harvest its power, he eats the last remaining leaf, and it actually transforms him. And to make sure nobody else ever gets a chance to eat from the sapling, he uses his powers to destroy it. Time for round 2. This time the fight is a bit harder. He heals himself back to full health and uses the artifacts, but eventually he falls. Just as he is about to throw this giant ball of flame at us, his power subsides and he transforms into a tree. We return to the Roach village and tell them that the sapling is no more. Now it is time to return to the Ant Kingdom, where they are holding a celebration for us. Here we can talk to all the people we have met on our adventure. And when we enter the palace, the queen gives a speech about our achievements and knights us as royal guards. The credits roll and the adventure is over. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, I would really appreciate it if you left a like and maybe even subscribed. And maybe, just maybe, I will see you in the next video. Bye bye!